meeting. The public can also send emails with questions. Plaistow. The public can also send emails with questions or concerns prior to the meeting to dvos@plaistow.com. All emails received by 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting will be read at the meeting. Please note all questions or concerns typed into the Q&A box or sent via email will be read aloud to become part of the public record. The meeting will also be live on Public Access Cable Channel 17 and will be live streaming on the town's website. So with that accomplished, we're legally open at 6:30 through.
Yep.
Charlene, roll call, please.
Okay. Tom Alberti?
He'll be late. He'll be here in a few minutes.
Very good. Timothy Moore?
Here?
Laurie Millette?
Here.
Karen Robinson?
Here.
Maxanne Dobson?
Here.
Greg Talon?
Here.
Bill Coy?
Here.
John Cushell?
Here.
And myself.
Yeah,
All
thank you.
accounted for.
First item on the agenda is a review and approval of May 19th, 2021 minutes. Is there a motion on those minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of May 19th, 2021.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Karen. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Abstained.
I'll abstain. So we have a
301.
301.
Well, I'm technically a voting member and I abstained.
Oh,
Tom's not here.
yeah, so 301 is the vote. All right, so those minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is a review of the master plan implementation. And I think I think everyone has seen this before. So this is going through the all of the implementation and looking at, for the most part, all of the projects that were ongoing and what the status is of those activities. There are other scheduled activities for 2021 that are not ongoing, and so those are not yet included in this activity log. So my hope is that as we go through the rest of 21, we'll have a complete listing of what we did in 2021, and then we would post this to the website in the master plan section and start to build up a history of what we've done each year with respect to the activities, recommendations that were in the master plan.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
are you looking for a motion to approve the suggested revisions?
Not,
Yeah, just to look at it, right?
yeah, I guess we can do that.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the in red revisioned items for the master plan.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motions? Mhm. Okay. So the suggested revisions that Greg just made reference to was slight rewording and combining a lot of the recommendations into a single recommendation. So what we will do, I think with the consent of the chair as we move forward, is at some point, we would approve the whole of the activity log towards the end of the year when it's truly reflects the work that we've done this year. And the other chapter of the master plan that didn't really get updated was the recreation chapter. And so I am hoping shortly to work with our recreation director and commission to get that chapter updated. That would require, of course, a public hearing, at which time we would update the master plan, update the implementation section with the changes in red that we just did, and then approve the final activity log. That would occur later in the year, probably closer to December. Around the same time, we would be looking at zoning and subdivision changes. So-
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
just for clarification, that my understanding is as we go along, if we approve these revisions, as we go along, we make additional revisions, we can approve them as we go along, is that
Yeah.
correct?
yeah.
Okay. So you want to vote on these? Are we voting on these? We have a motion and we have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't vote? That would be the next thing to do, yes. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, so are there any more
Any
questions or
discussions?
discussions on those changes? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining? Okay. All right. So are there any other questions or,
Okay, I do have a question.
yeah?
Are we going, to when we go through these now, are we going to be forming like committees or taking, certain ones that we be maybe working on or would like to work on? I mean, like the first one, working with Pollard School on Arbor Day, Earth Day, doing the schools, K through 12, maybe I'd like to work on that one. But I just meant, is
Yeah.
that what we're going to start doing so that we're actually doing something?
Yeah.
If you want to do it. I don't know if you want to do it that way.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That would be, yeah, we've kind of already done that this year.
Oh, okay.
However, we would, we being the Conservation Commission, a lot of this falls to Jill Center
Okay.
to do this, so
That's what I wanted to know.
I know she is always looking for help.
Okay,
And this year, because of the pandemic and
Well, that's-
hybrid teaching, I guess, that went on at Pollard, they only did the 5th grade poetry contest.
right.
Normally, there's a poster contest for all the 5 grades, 5th grade poetry contest, and then a tree planting someplace.
Right, exactly.
So you know, we'd probably look to pick that up next year.
Okay.
And then the Rec Commission, I'm sorry to say, I don't know what they did. I know they had some activity planned on Earth Day, which is right around the, Arbor Day is typically the last Friday in April, so
Right, right.
we usually do this tree planting thing on usually the first week in May.
May, right.
So we should make closer contact with the Rec Commission and see what they're doing. See if they need help as well.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. So as I said earlier, this is just the ongoing ones. So we need to go back. I know one of the kind of one-time activities was to look at low-impact development. I think that's something that's been on the back burner. We keep talking about it, but don't really do it in any formal manner. So is there anyone that would like to work on that specifically?
Well, where is that one?
Well, it wouldn't be,
Is it on the original plan?
be on the original, yeah.
Okay.
Look for, I think, a 2021 activity. Yep, John.
If nobody wants to work on that, I'd love to see that, you know, as a side project.
Yep,
And then develop regulations, develop bylaws for the board to consider.
yep,
Yep.
I mean, we're practicing it, and MS4 requires it.
Right.
You know, we're practicing
Right.
it basically on a project-by-project basis, but, you know, to formalize it and to present a package later this year for the board's consideration and adopting, we can go forward with that. We do have a subdivision coming in, and we've been talking about it for the last year and a half or so, North Ave.
all right, yep,
Yep.
And it's coming in, what I've been told, as a standard subdivision.
yep. Yeah, I think the Conservation Commission just looked at that.
Okay.
So they have all the approvals that they need outside of the planning board approval,
Yeah, yeah,
including the state, from what I've been told.
yeah. The other plan the Conservation Commission looked at is the development of the Palmer, former
Yes,
Palmer.
on Savage
lot.
Way. That way?
Yeah. So, yeah, they've, well, we can't really talk about a plan that's not on the agenda, but, so, yeah, those two are coming up. So there are some plans where low-impact development would be of benefit, yeah. All right, well, your name is written down.
I put a star beside it, so I'll get going on it.
Well, that was the NR 1 through 9, I think, the natural resources, that's what it's under.
Probably,
Incorporate green infrastructure, requirements for stormwater management, site plan review, low impact, those things, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Matter of fact, it would be a good idea to bring up at a planning board meeting what the town has been doing MS4 wise.
Yeah.
Probably bring in Norman to give a presentation on that.
yeah, we could, if they're willing. They certainly have helped us substantially over the last few years. All right. So did anyone else, looking through the total list of recommendations at the end of the implementation section, see any that they would like to work on or start? I mean, some of them are, probably fairly easy. Others are a little bit longer. So, I mean, from my point of view, there's no, certainly no deadline. I mean, if we work at it and can't get something implemented this year, then we continue to next year. I mean, there's no,
Well, I'll work with the Conservation Commission on those two things, if that's what you need.
yeah,
And I'll be glad to do both of those, so just working with public school and working with the Conservation Commission and Rec Department. Yep,
great.
yep.
All right. Anything else on the implementation? Yeah, John?
I just got a subject matter. The other day, a couple of guys came in looking for property along 125 to set up a business. And what I did was come in early and go up and down 125. And, when you really stop to take a look with what's going on along 125, it's amazing how much property is for sale, undeveloped property. And, properties that are developed, but they're for sale. It's almost like 50% of the lots in the properties that are developed are for sale down there.
Yeah,
We're in an economy right now that, if you look at the real estate pages, I mean, astronomical prices being asked for properties, just out of the blue. It's like, it's mushroomed.
yeah,
But, there was a lack of inventory, especially for housing, up until really, say, a couple of weeks ago. And all of a sudden, everybody is just let loose. And I think it has to do with the, loosening up on the COVID. But, there's so many more houses on the market, and the values are just astronomical. But what I'm getting at as far as 125 is concerned is that, we may see a lot of activity, site plan-wise, special permit-wise in the next few months, because business people are out there actively looking for properties. So if you do have time and you want to take this on yourself, just ride up and down and take a good look at everything. It's just like, wow, that's for sale, that's for sale. And, there's another 2.5 acre lot, all the way up to the Kingston line.
Yep.
yeah.
Just amazing what the potential is. And with the market like it is, we'll probably end up seeing quite a few site plans come in. I would not doubt over the next couple of years.
Yeah. Well, that certainly was our hope.
Yeah.
Well, I think the good news is Larry's is number one. That's been vacant for so long, thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Did it
And they're
finally
going to
sell?
renovate.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, great.
And the plan
and
is
they're
that
gonna keep the seafood.
Yeah.
They're keeping the restaurant, everything.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
that was really good news.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's,
It's good property.
yeah, I mean, it's a good spot, but it's a big enough lot to do something with. So many of the, not so many, a lot of the lots on 125 are, quarter acre, half acre, under an acre.
Yeah.
And unless you buy 2 or 3 lots in a row, there's pretty constrained to do very much. But that's what a booming economy does. It provides that,
Smaller business.
gives developers the ability to buy 2 or 3 lots and do something a little more substantial, so.
I don't know, as we go along this year, that the board may want to contemplate doing a field trip type of event where we do actually walk along 125 for a distance, and then probably get into our cars and drive up the road a little bit more. But, just by walking an area, you see so much more.
Yeah.
And you take in so much more than you would just driving by. So, you know, just to see the physical aspects of that corridor. And, you know, we may come up with a lot of brainstorming ideas of what we can do to try to implement improvements
Yeah.
along the way.
Okay.
Tim, one housekeeping issue that Dee wanted me to make sure I brought up this evening.
Okay, yep.
Is our summer schedule. We started talking about it at the last meeting. As we were discussing, I just want to bring this up, is the first meeting in July, which is the 7th. If we were to agree to forego that meeting, then our next meeting would be July 21st.
Yeah, it'll be the hearing, because there's one.
And,
Yep. Yeah, I mean, unless somebody has something specific that they think we should do on the 7th, I would say, let's cancel that, as it's typically been our custom.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. It's amazing how much cooperation there is when you talk about postponing and canceling
Things
meetings.
just go like that.
if you really want to get daring.
August,
I'm just, August,
the first meeting, if there's nothing, and then you got
Right.
the hearing on the next August.
yeah, and that
I
would
was
be the 18th.
thinking that.
Yeah.
There we go. That would be the 18th. And,
yeah.
you know what, that would really give us a break, I guess.
Yep.
And I think we've worked straight
If we
through the
need
whole
it, yeah.
year and actually accomplished a lot in the year that was,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
year to forget, but we got through it.
Yeah, I hate, I mean, I don't mind taking a Wednesday off in August, but I would like to defer that, I think, to the July 17th meeting.
Yeah,
Or the-
and again, if something comes up, we
Just to see.
definitely have to meet. We have
Oh,
to
yeah,
meet.
then you have to
Yeah.
be here, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, because, you know, it's, June now, but come September,
Oh, we're starting all
it's
over.
going to be time to start talking about zoning.
Yep.
And subdivision site plan. So the fall is always, is always really, really busy from kind of the planning perspective that we do. But also, as development starts to get underway, developers are anxious to get in and get out so they can get foundations in and, get site stabilization before the winter. So it's busy from that, that point of view as well, so.
Now, is the schedule for hearings only, though, on the third Wednesday?
That's right,
So that's where you would get the,
yeah.
hopefully, that's when they
Yeah.
would appear.
You know,
Well-
and
But
I
Tim, are
think
you
that-
suggesting canceling the 4th of August as well? or not?
No,
Yeah, the first one.
Well-
Oh, I was,
It'll be
waiting.
the first Wednesday of August.
right,
My suggestion was that we wait until our July meeting
Oh, okay.
okay.
to
yeah,
make sure
all
that
right.
we don't, it's nice to have the time off, but you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot.
The 21st, yeah.
So,
Okay,
stuff gets backlogged and then, you
That's
have
true.
more late meetings and, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, thank you.
But we definitely will cancel the July 7th meeting.
Do we make a motion on that?
I don't think so. I just-
We don't have to do that, do we?
We just have to notice it,
Yeah, I mean, you have to post that there's no meeting, but,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
yeah, it's up to the chair to cancel meetings
okay. Okay,
or add special meetings if we need more meetings.
all right.
So I know Tom wanted to talk about rules of procedure. I'm not sure what he wanted to do, so is there any other business or communications that we could get out of the way?
Did we already appoint the alternate CIP member?
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
So, the CIP, as I'm sure most of you know, is made up of 2 members and an alternate member from the Planning Board, Budget Committee, and Board of Selectmen. So Tom and myself are the CIP members from the Planning Board. We can appoint an alternate to the CIP. So is there anyone interested in?
I think Karen wants to do it. I think I'm nominating Karen.
Okay. Karen, do we,
Okay,
yeah,
It's only a couple of meetings, usually.
okay.
Right, Tim? It's usually only like 2?
Had 2?
yeah, 2 or 3 sometimes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of pushing it 3, though, usually 2.
Via email.
Oh, good, good, okay. I like that.
All right, so we'll take that as a motion, Laurie? to-
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we
There's-
Second
nominate
motion.
Karen.
Yeah, motion's made and Greg seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained?
Yay, Karen.
Congratulations. All right, and we haven't scheduled the CIP meeting yet, but we will shortly
Okay.
because it's time to,
I'll get
Get that.
notified, right?
yeah.
Tim,
Yes,
with Tom not here, the rules of procedure review, can we at least maybe just have that carry on to the next meeting, and we give everybody the opportunity to read through the rules of procedure, and if they see something that needs to be revised or modified, they can bring it to this next meeting?
yeah.
Is that reasonable?
I think that's probably all we can do.
Yeah, because the next meeting's going to be the J&R thing, I think, and another one, other site plan.
Yeah. Do I have somebody on the steps? No, I guess not. Yeah, I mean, unless somebody already has a question or comment. We did,
Last year, we had done a couple of changes.
right,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, so,
It's a good thing to review it every year, just be able to take a look at it and make sure that things are up to date.
yeah. So I know one thing we talked about last year, we don't really mention how we would conduct remote meetings. And I think,
How we would conduct,
I'm sorry, yeah, how we would conduct remote meetings.
oh, okay.
So last year, we were kind of in the midst of the pandemic, and someone suggested that we hold off on that to see how that all kind of shook out. We're still in the midst of it, with a whole different set of expectations and legislation, pending legislation, so,
So Tim, can I just add to those
Yeah.
two comments? One, the governor has made a determination not to renew the need for remote meetings, and it expires, I don't have the exact date. I don't know.
June 12th.
12th, thank you, thank you.
Yep, June 12th.
12th. But also there is legislative work being done to submit a bill that would allow remote sessions to occur, to allow the alternative.
yeah.
And that has not
That hasn't passed yet.
made it to the floor yet, so it's basically
Yeah.
just in work in progress. So very likely the need for, or not the need, but for the ability of doing remote sessions will expire until sometime later in the year.
Yeah.
They may look at it and say, you know what, this was a useful thing we could use.
Yeah, I think that bill actually is being amended to, instead of taking action this year, form a commission to study the problem.
Yes.
which-
Yep. Study.
And in general, the legislature is not in favor of remote meetings. Certainly not everybody. And there was both a House bill and a Senate bill. The House bill got, because they were both similar, I think the House bill got voted inexpedient to legislate because they were looking at the Senate bill. Senate bill, as Greg just mentioned, is not yet, it's come out of committee with this recommendation to form a commission to study the problem or study the issue. It is not, as that I know of, received the Senate floor vote. If it does receive a vote and it passes, then it would go to the House, and then if it passes in the House, then to the governor. So, but if they're anywhere near on schedule, all that will occur before the end of this month, end of June, which all bills do, since the state fiscal year is, June, July to June.
Yep.
So we should know much more in another month. Although if the outcome is to form a commission, then you really don't know
Exactly.
what the commission is going to recommend. And then if it goes beyond, another voting cycle, which likely would if it's a commission, everything is up for grabs again anyway, so.
If I just want to say something, I think the main concern was not so much the boards having a meeting, whether it's in person or zone, but it was for the people that are having a lot of trouble getting into zoning or feeling they're not being heard, that they would much rather come here, in person themselves. And I think when you have a meeting of, the board versus the people, and you're looking right at them, or they're able to talk, I think that is so much, I don't know how to describe it.
Better.
Well, it is. It's just, yes, it is. And I just think that's the main reason that a lot of people have even spoken up for this,
Yeah.
that they really would like to see, a Zoom meeting would obviously be necessary if we went through emergency or something like that, and then fine. I think they should have it. But I still think that meeting in person, both people and the board, it makes a big, big difference in the town. I really do. And I think that's the reason
It worked for
came up.
300+ years. All we have to do is start doing it again. It worked great. I can't wait till we don't have to deal with it. And the hybrid meetings are worse than having a full Zoom meeting.
Right, right, yeah, I agree
Because
with
you
that.
have to pay attention to, what's going on, who's raising their hand, are you getting a presentation
Right.
from, and if you require everybody to come in, I think that's where the governor is in the state
Yes,
legislature.
he is.
Hey, it worked before, we just have to get used to it again and get back to normal,
Yeah. Well, I will
never
say,
have to go back.
for planning board meetings where you need to look at plans,
You kinda have
it
to
is easier when everyone is here.
Yeah.
The thing that is most irritating to me about the way our legislation, not to get off topic here, but, is pass the legislation so towns can vote to do it or not do it. Don't have the legislature cut the legs out from everyone. And every meeting is different, For the planning commission, those meetings work great remotely, because meetings were always open to the public. Seldom, I don't recall any member of the public actually attending an RPC meeting, but.
No, I know.
But they were there, and they had the ability to do so remotely.
And the zoning board, I think, is important too.
Yeah,
I do. I think it's important in person.
and a lot of, some of our workshops could easily have,
That could be,
when the weather's nice, in December, when it's a snowy night, might be nice maybe to dial in, not have to drive in the crappy weather.
Or cancel
But anyway, we don't
yeah,
get
that's even,
That's what we used
talking
to have
about
to do.
remote. So, Tom,
Hello, everyone.
good evening.
Did you win?
a timely entrance.
We played one of the best teams in the state in Wyndham, and we didn't win, but
Good old
It was
window.
fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. The girls were great,
Of course.
so.
We were about to escape, Mr. Chairman.
What'd I miss?
Well,
We done?
We're
We done?
about ready to figure out, okay.
You've been waiting for me the whole time?
So what, did you have something specific in mind about the rules of procedure?
I just want to go over them, see if anybody had any questions. Looks like an update last year. You know, I think that just for the new members of the board, it was good to have them in front of us. If we had any questions, I know, you know, a couple weeks ago, we had a situation where poor Charlie Zilch was probably saying, I hate when mom and dad fight, right? So, you know, it's the kind of thing where if we talk about the rules, make sure we're all on the same page, I think we'll have more effective meetings. So, did you guys work through the master plan stuff?
We did.
Okay. And I can get updated afterwards. But I think that we had a question mark about service on other boards. Are we 100% comfortable with that situation? Are we, you know, does everybody feel like we're doing the right thing? People are serving multiple boards, no conflicts?
Yeah, I think working together
We're
is good.
Laura, do you have any questions?
No, I
Okay.
think that was all worked out.
I had kind of thought about that. Again, you know, we look at the RPC section on page 3. Under organization, we have officers, planning staff, committee, and commission memberships. I don't know that we can change anything. I just know that we're kind of in a conundrum this year with the RPC situation. So, was there any ideas or thoughts about that section?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, the bylaws state
Right.
if we want to make those recommendations and how we do it, recommendations to the Board of Selectmen, then the, you know, Board of Selectmen are free to act on those recommendations as
Yeah.
budget and whatever, so,
Yeah, and I just put a question mark there. I know procedurally this seems to cover it. There's not really a whole lot more that we can do. It's out of our control after we recommend it or not recommend it. So it looks like that sort of covers it. The only other thing my thought was, and I don't know which section where I wrote that, but it does talk about appointments. And I know that Dee had brought up that we needed an alternate on the CIP.
yeah.
Yeah, we nominated Karen, well,
Karen.
I
Okay.
kind of nominated Karen.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
unanimous, too.
That is, I love it. With that in mind, do we have every single appointment that's required of us put into the policies and procedures?
So,
Because that wasn't specifically stated in there, is it?
No, I don't think it is. Is it?
Oh, wait, so the chair, board,
Number 3.
Oh, okay.
board member, a board or a board alternate may serve on the CIP. So right now, we've got Tim as the CIP chair, myself serving,
And she's alternate.
and the alternate. Does 3 state that we have to provide 2 serving members and an alternate? Should we designate that?
I think someplace we,
I thought it was, but maybe not. Selection of officers.
I'm pretty sure it's in here someplace.
What are we looking for?
Well, I just want to make sure that sort of our policies and procedures,
Oh.
because we talk about in other sections, how many members are on the board, how many alternates we can have, you know, it really specifies
Should be in
numbers.
the beginning here, right? Appointment,
thought those were
is it
in
under
there, Tom.
appointment?
Are you talking about for the CIP?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's on page 4,
Right.
Yeah,
number 3.
yeah. It's a little bit vague, and so I guess my question is, what are our requirements, and do we cover that in section 3? So we know that a chair of the board or the chair's designee shall serve as the chair of the CIP committee. So that's,
So Tim is your designee,
yes,
however you say that word.
yeah. And then a board member or board alternate member may serve on the CIP committee as either a member or alternate member. It says may, whereas I was, unless I have it wrong, I was under the understanding that should be required a second planning board member and also a planning board alternate.
Well, the CIP committee is set up to have two members from the planning board, so
So we change the language and say, after designee, either the chair or the designee, and then a second board member shall serve versus may.
Doesn't
No, I
it
think
say it in
that's-
the first sentence,
So
though?
the opening sentence say the board shall appoint a member and an alternate member to
Okay.
serve on CIP,
In addition.
In addition to the chair of the board.
Okay,
in addition
all
to the
right.
chair of the board.
Positions.
Yeah.
So that
Okay,
covers
we're
that.
good.
Addition to
All
the
right,
chair.
excellent, good, thank you.
Yep.
And then, I know the first day that I was, sworn in, there was a few other appointments, and I can't recall, and wasn't able to look at my prior minutes. Do you recall what other positions we appointed that day?
Well, I think the CIP and the RPC are the only
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
places where the planning board
Right, that's the other one.
appoints members of other committees or boards.
Okay. I know, what was the position that Julian was at with the Rockingham Planning
Yeah,
Commission?
he was a second planning commissioner from, so based on our population,
Yeah.
Plaistow is allowed to have two commissioners, voting commissioners, and it doesn't
Doesn't say alternate.
doesn't really say, because the RSAs that form the planning commissions don't really say, and RPC has been pretty loose. So some towns have multiple alternate members. Plaistow typically has appointed one other, a third person to be an alternate. I don't recall ever that alternate member really participated, but
Okay.
that's not to say that they shouldn't.
All right, so I just want to make sure that we have any sort of responsible appointments or any other roles of the board is addressed in here, and I think what you're telling me is that it is, so.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, for the planning board itself, we can have, per RSA, 5 alternate members, and we just have one. So there really are 4 alternate member positions available
Yep. And it's
for the
stated-
planning board itself.
And it does state that, so. As far as planning staff goes, also on page 4, there was my thought, or actually page 5, number 8, section D, no correspondence shall be sent until reviewed and approved by the chair. What specifically would you say, Tim, in that? What kind of correspondence does that cover versus, what isn't covered?
Well, I think the purpose behind that was, you don't want to have members of the board sending out letters or memos to whoever outside the board. I mean, you'd like to have that kind of focused on the chair, or again, his or her designee, just so that an outside organization doesn't get multiple points of view.
Sure,
So
that
that
makes sense.
that was kind of,
Standard.
and particularly the press.
No, yeah, absolutely. And then going back to page 4, just the bottom of the page where it says number 5, notify the chair of each application received, notify the entire board of all correspondence and emails directed to the board within a reasonable time frame. I guess I would kind of defer to John. Pretty much all the communication that we get from D should be encompassed in this, correct?
Yeah. I'd just like to comment on the last subject we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's more of a rare occurrence that the planning board has to officially send out a correspondence. So, most of the correspondence that originates out of a planning board meeting ends up being an email to Charlie Cleary, or an email to an engineer, Steve Keach, or whatever. It's not really formal, but in that type of communication that actually requires a vote of the board, and it's an official statement that's going to go to another body politic, clearly, it would be drafted and reviewed and signed by you. But, those type of communications are rare.
Yep, all right. And I think the only other thing that I sort of made a note of is going on to page 9, where it goes to D, public hearing. This kind of speaks to the conduct, and I don't know that we need to change anything. I just wanted to sort of revisit this, because we did have a complication. We've worked through it, we've talked about it, we don't need to rehash it, but I think if we recognize the sort of the conduct, the rules of how we should communicate, I think we can have more effective meetings. If there's questions, and I think about it this way, right? So John and Dee and others have conversations with applicants, and they're not part of the public record unless it's information that's gained and shared. And so they really get some good insight into an application, whereas the board, sees it a few days before we talk about it, and then it's our initial opportunity to talk about it, and it's all on the record. So I think that this preserves our role to ask questions, and yeah, some of them may seem a little bit silly, and maybe not silly, but maybe they seem redundant, or maybe it was covered someplace, but it is our opportunity to speak about it. So I want to make sure we take it, and that we have a nice, good conduct in how we do it, so that we can have effective meetings. The one thing it doesn't really speak about is where and when is it appropriate for the planning staff to speak? I don't know if this, and I'm not really kind of trying to shoehorn the planning staff in that sense, but because we kind of lay it out for everybody else, when and where, is there any point that
Well, on D2, it says any party to the matter who desires to ask a question or other party must go through the chair. So I would assume that would also include the planning department. And I think if number 2 is followed, then you should have a fairly
Sure.
logical and well-structured discussion.
I agree, yeah. But sometimes, the planning staff will speak about the project in general, not necessarily ask a question. So maybe it's just, any party to the matter who desires to ask a question or speak about the application must go through the chair, something along those lines.
Right, yeah, ask the chair.
And I think that's pretty much what we do.
Yeah, I'm not saying we don't, but
If there's you know, if there's only a couple people here, the developer and maybe the owner of the property and, you know, one abutter, you can be a little more casual, you know, you can have the board members ask questions directly to the developer. If there's a large crowd with a fairly controversial project, which is the only kind of project for which you would have a large crowd, I think, then at the beginning, you know, you kind of need to wrap the gavel and say, all questions will go through the chair, so that you don't start
Sure.
multiple side conversations in the audience or amongst the board members. So you have to, you know, kind of play it by ear.
Yeah.
Right, each one's different.
And I think, again, for a straightforward project, where the board doesn't have any questions, typically would ask John if the staff had any more input, in case, you know, might have been a point that wasn't discussed for one reason or another. Or, like everyone else, and John, you know, frequently raises his hand, like the board members do, and
Yep.
so he participates that way.
Mr. Chair?
So,
I think,
Yes.
personally, I think the most important part of conducting a meeting is that everybody does ask through the chair. You know, because you don't want 5 people talking at once or whatever. Tim did bring up a good point. You know, board members, you know, you know when the time is right if a board member wants to ask an applicant directly a question. But the proper procedure is, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask so-and-so a question. So if everything does go through you, you're the orchestra leader, so to speak. So if everybody defers to you to ask a question of somebody in the audience or another board member, then it's a controlled meeting. You know, it's not turning into multiple people talking when we are conducting official business.
Yeah.
So really, everything has to go through you.
Yeah, and I think, you know, in hindsight, the more we do that, we avoid a scenario where, you know, a question is being asked, and then, you know, one of us, then we have a cross conversation that, you know, in that instance deteriorated to a bit. So I think, again, just whether we change anything or not, it's good to have in front of us, reminder of good decorum and whatnot. Yes?
So Tom, during public hearings and public comment, I think I don't know if it's in this, but a good practice is to allow the board to listen and let the person talk without interrupting them and asking questions of them. And then once they have the opportunity to speak, the board can then decide how they want to deliberate on that. And it's a little bit of a courtesy, but it's often, they ask a question and we want to answer the question, so we get into a big discussion versus it being just an open forum for them to be able to express their opinions.
Sure. Yeah, and I think we had a situation where an applicant was maybe a little frustrated, and instead of really addressing the project, sort of shared that frustration, you know, and that was kind of a situation where it was, you know, is this even helpful at this point? So, you know, again, I understand that that's a role that will, you know, that comes through the chair, whether it may be me or someone else in the future, just to take control of those scenarios.
And Mr. Chair, if I'm a person that's out of order, you know, you're the chairman. So, you know, you can rule you're out of order, you know, or to anybody. But, you know, the role of the chairman is to control the decorum of the meeting.
Sure.
So, I mean, you appear to be a person that can do that pretty well.
Except when I'm at home and my wife has control.
You'll probably have it all under your belt.
I mean, I might need a gavel, but other than that,
Or an ashtray works.
the good old days.
Those anymore, do they?
Oh, it's amazing.
Dishes.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I just want to make sure that this board had the policies and procedures in front of us. I know it's documented. I don't know that I had, unless
Nope.
I have it in my record, so it's good.
Either.
And it's a reminder. I mean, I think we all understand these basic concepts, but, having a conversation for 15 minutes, 20 minutes reinforces some of that. And if there's anything that the board felt that we needed to change, this was our avenue. And if it's not, then we're good. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts? Yeah.
I have been reading up on how to gain more patience as a person. So, I've been looking at myself in the mirror, and I could be a better person more often. So that's what I'm going to really try to bring to the table as we go forward. And, and I don't mind not talking. If you want to, ask me a question, great, but, believe me, even though I seem to talk a lot, I really don't mean to.
The thing I think about is that hired, paid employees of a town or a district or whatever it might be, our experienced personnel get hired on their merits, their understanding, their expertise in the field, and then in come the voted, elected members. And I get it. We don't know what you know. But that's why we ask questions. And maybe they seem simple and easy to someone else. And I'm not just saying it's you, it's probably every board like this, where someone say, geez, that's kind of a silly question, the guy should know that. So I think that as long as we respect that you know a lot and that we're elected and we're trying to do the right thing, then I think we'll be fine. So,
And the other thing, I don't vote, you guys do vote, and you do live in this town, so you naturally have a stronger position, of thought, the end of practice, so, and I don't have all the answers. I just try to help you through the process, because I do have, multiple years of experience that, very rarely does a planning board member like Tim serve this long, and through years of service, you gain a lot of experience that you wouldn't otherwise get.
Very experienced.
But
yep, absolutely. I think we're fortunate for that.
We need that.
All right, so if everybody's comfortable with the policies and procedures, and we should have a copy now, right? And we can defer to them, and it doesn't seem like anybody's got any pressing concerns about adding something or changing anything, then I'm comfortable as well. One thing I want to mention, and I don't know if it came up at all, is I was doing a little checking around when I was looking at some of the master plan stuff, and I didn't get as far as I wanted to, which is kind of a busy time, but one of the things I was researching was, or I read up on, and I got to find it someplace, was about storage containers. And I thought it was a pertinent question because it has come up in some conversations. I believe that it states that the planning board has to approve the placement of a storage container, or allow for the storage container. I don't know, anybody else see anything like that? Was that discussed in the master plan stuff? Because I know we were looking at things like aesthetics and.
yeah.
Yep.
I would opine that we may want to take up as a conversation that may lead to a bylaw. These slip into everywhere.
Yes, they do.
I mean,
Yep.
municipalities, without giving it a thought at all, will put them on a site. And it's like,
Yeah.
what gives? But I wouldn't, as a town, allow for them, unless they're properly screened and actually behind the building. But, that kind of upset me the other night, where,
Right.
they want to put two of these, not just one, but two, in where there should be parking. And those were located where you would typically have prime parking spaces.
John, is it, I don't mean to interrupt you, is it, I wanted to talk about it in general terms. Is it okay to talk about that relative to the application?
Well, we're just using as an example.
Example.
But I don't think it's appropriate to show those type of things on a site plan, again, unless they're out of the way, behind the building, because it doesn't add any aesthetic value to a community that's trying to improve every site that comes before it.
Yeah. I'll find the ordinance that I was looking at. Yes,
I
Karen?
think the main sentence that it says, it's up to the planning board,
Yeah.
even though there are your definitions and there is two ways of looking at everything usually. And I think when they say it's up to the planning board to decide whether that is, applicable to where it's being, number one, whether it's C1, C3, C2, wherever. And that's why I think they put that in. I mean, we know exactly what's the area is, and this is what they have to follow. So I think that sentence does it all.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to find that and see how it applies if and when the next question comes up.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Cashel.
And on this line of thought too, the last thing I wrote and just distributed to the planning board.
Yes.
Realistically, on a site-by-site basis, utilizing site plan review, that's how you move in the direction of improving the aesthetic qualities of every site. And it does catch on, because, if your neighbor's taking care of their property, you probably start feeling guilty and you start taking care of your own better, if that's the case. And with site plan review, when it comes in, I think we really should concentrate on the landscaping issues, the building facade materials and the design of it. All of that stuff can go a long way. And one of the pet peeves of a lot of people is, light pollution. So, properly shielded lights and night-friendly lighting is of great importance, for every site. So, a lighting plan for every property that comes before us, that's a given, but, landscaping and paying attention to landscaping really goes a long way.
So you win the lottery tomorrow, right? And you no longer have to do a site plan review. And, the next person comes in and says, well, I don't really care about landscaping. Like, is it prudent for us to look at language/warrant articles to try to move in the right direction?
Yeah,
They're all-
absolutely.
They're all in here.
And it's really a matter of bringing that development community along, bringing the engineers that are designing this stuff that comes before us. And, like a lot of communities, especially the size of Plaistow, you're typically dealing with one or two engineering firms. So you just have to bring a small party of people on board. Hey, Charlie's gonna go back to his applicant and say, hey, I can't do this. They're
Right.
not gonna go for it. And that's how you transform the community one step at a time, but, you get these people that are doing, 75% of the design work for these site plans. In next meeting, we do have the public hearing scheduled for that North Avenue property. That's a subdivision, and, we've already looked at it once, but, we'll have our work cut out for us. Once that hearing starts.
Well, we have two hearings, right?
Yeah, this was a small one. And,
We did not accept the application, yeah, because we didn't get into the application acceptance for Plaistow Road, right?
Right.
Yes.
We did accept?
No.
Sorry, my brain's all over the
We
place
didn't
today.
accept it, did we?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. So I guess that will get us into, on the agenda.
You're gonna have to do these things. Yep.
So I'm looking here, it looks like we've done master plan discussion. We just had a little bit of sidebar on that. Rules of procedure review. We've done the appointment of the CIP alternate member. Unless anybody has anything else to say about rules of procedure or master plan or, yes, sir?
Just want to, you weren't here, and I just want to bring you up to speed. Don't show up here July 7th. Get the night off.
That's what I was getting at. What if I wanted to have a meeting?
I know.
Oh, you weren't here, we
You'd be here alone.
I'm coming
the
anyway.
night off.
It's up to you to cancel it.
You snooze, you lose, is that what I just got?
All the votes would be 1-0.
Took advantage of the
Yeah.
situation.
Yes, right.
Well, officially, I'll say I was upset. Unofficially, I'm All right, and then I know the board is also skipped the workshop meeting for August in some years.
We're waiting on that.
Yeah, we were waiting on that.
That we didn't
We're
want
gonna
to go
wait
too
on
far
that
with.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been suggested, yes.
Which I'm completely comfortable with that. If I thought that we had something that we needed to get to, then we might want to discuss that. What I don't want to do is, it is August, and now we're into September. This starts to get prime time for drafting any warrant articles, really taking action on master plan steps and goals. So I think in lieu of the meeting, we could just tack on as an agenda item, open discussion about master plan, open discussion about warrant articles
Yep.
onto our public hearings,
Yep.
and just have that conversation like, hey, yeah, we want to start development.
Right.
Yes.
Might be able to help, because we did talk about this again. We were talking about a lot of things right before
Okay.
you showed up, but, like, I'm going to, I took up the responsibility of looking into low-impact development ordinances of other towns and, the whole subject matter. And I'm going to work on that, and now I'm thinking I'll work on that this summer and report to this board my findings for the September meeting, for example. And Karen has her assignments to work with the Conservation Commission and others.
And the rec, yep.
Yeah, so that, what we may want to do is to work diligently on assignments over the summer, individually or with subgroups, with the goal of reporting for that first workshop in September.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't want to just say we need to drop it and not talk about it again until September, because then we just lost 2 months and did nothing.
Yeah.
If we have a plan and we set as an agenda 10 to 15 minutes of, is everybody comfortable, are we on target for September reporting back? Then I feel comfortable, if the board does.
But you got to do your homework.
Well, yeah. The thing is now, then during the summer, like, how do I get together with the Conservation Commission and the rec company if they all of a sudden say, we're not gonna do too much this summer either?
Tim will help you with the Concom,
I mean,
right?
how do I get, in contact
Yeah.
with them? Are they in
Um,
contact with me?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let them know.
Okay, okay.
I mean, typically, for Arbor Day, Earth Day, we start planning, we might mention it in January, but February.
Oh, okay, all right, well, that's an example, okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then the other thing I said I'd do was the,
I'm sorry to interrupt, can I
No,
just,
that's
so, John, you're going to report on low-impact development, and that's targeted for September. Karen is working on what aspect of Concom?
it was, all right,
There's a couple of them in there.
Yep.
There's one that mentions Arbor Day and
K
rec
through 12.
Commission's work with Earth Day.
I just had it, right.
I think there was another
Yep.
Couple
Oh, I have it
mentions
right
of-
here.
Concom in there.
Okay, it was all of the N ones, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Okay. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, it was basically working with the, creating the natural resource inventory, when we did the Arbor Day and, oh, wait a minute, it's not on that one. Where's the one you gave us? That's, there we go. Revision work with Pollard School and Arbor Day and Earth Day celebrations. Monitor state or federal program availability for the K through 12 students, and that's usually like, you said, it's in April, so that would be something I would do in January.
Thank you.
Then the other one was working with the Conservation Commission and REC to develop a plan to provide education to the public and schools using the natural and cultural resources of the town. I would like to work with them on that.
That's
Okay.
in our 5, 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, 6, 5, 7, 8, 9.
Or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Which 4?
No, it's
Oh, did I
six.
miss 4?
5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
It's 6, 5, 7, 8, and 9.
Yep. How about it's 9, 6, 5, and 8, and 7?
It could be any of them.
That works.
Take your pick. Just skip 4.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Yes, Max?
No, I don't have a
Oh, okay.
question, just laughing.
Mr. Chairman, to bring you up to speed on everything we talked about while you were not here, we also talked about bringing Norman Doe in, who does for the town the MS4 requirements, so sometime in the fall, to have them actually come in and give us a presentation on the work they're doing relative to the town complying with the MS4 requirements. And then we also talked about, and I brought it up, nobody really voiced agreement, but we were thinking about maybe doing a site walk of Route 125 at some point during the year, during comfortable part of the year, not the middle of winter, but, some evening or a Saturday, we may want to walk along 125 and just physically observe what's out there and maybe come up with some brainstorming ideas about what can be done to improve.
Yeah, I'm on board.
That was everything, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all it was.
Yeah, I don't want to hold up
think
anything. Just,
This is good.
all right, so is the consensus that we're okay taking July workshop and August workshop off? Okay. John, will you?
August too?
I
thought
got
we
a
weren't-
surprise for you,
I thought
Mr.
we weren't going
Chairman.
to decide till July.
Okay, we'll wait till July.
Contrary to me not being able to be here, and Dee not being able to support the board's mission, July and August, I think we're turning the page on that, and I'll be available, and I believe
Okay.
Dee will end up being available, so we really won't miss a beat over the summer, all right?
Sounds good.
If you want me. If you want to take advantage of me not being
I
here.
like how he looks over here at me.
Well, yeah,
I don't
that's,
want to disappoint people.
that piece is up for debate, but no. So for now, we will defer to the August decision
In July.
in July at our public
That's what we
hearing.
decided.
Okay, that sounds good. But that's good news, John. I was just kidding. Communications updates, FYIs, and other business. Do we have anything else to report?
Not really. Am I missing anything?
You said no the first time, so I don't think it's changed.
Anything that can be publicly shared about the Milton cat, Old Sanborns?
Yeah, the one thing that could be publicly shared is there's a potential that Plaistow doesn't have to be involved with what is going on over there because it's a subdivision plan and all of the infrastructure improvements are far removed from the Plaistow property, so that there's nothing being planned for, even though it shows up on some schematic, there's nothing being planned for development-wise in Plaistow on that 165-acre parcel.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was
we're
referring to
talking about the wrong one.
the Old Sanborns candy, the Milton cat.
That could be coming to a final verdict in the not-too-distant future, from what I hear. I don't think it can go much farther than what has happened,
Okay.
to date. I thought you were talking Newton.
No,
No.
Amazon or whatever, that big project in Kingston, or?
the Newton side.
The
of
Newton.
it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's a subdivision plan, but none of the development that's being proposed is in Plaistow.
It's actually in Plaistow.
We don't even, there's a possibility, we don't need to sign any plan or be involved with that, other than, would be invited to a public meeting over there, as concerned parties, but, we may not officially have to be part and parcel
Yeah.
to that
Now-
particular plan.
And I'll just, again, if and when an application comes ahead, I will recuse myself as an abutter to that project. I just have more of a general question, because that project does have land as part of their lot in Plaistow. You still think that even, it's all gonna be about whether or not they wanna put a building on or abutting, even if they're abutting the land, won't they need to get some sort of approvals?
Well, not necessarily, because it's all going, when that subdivision goes through, whenever it does, the size lot, it's 27.3, and it's enormous.
Yeah,
It's multiple acres, it's like 65 acres, that parcel in and of itself. Typically, a surveyor wouldn't even survey the whole property. They would just draw on the border lines, what looks like a Z, and that's not to scale. So they may be able to get away with just showing the area in Newton that's actually going to involve improvements, either road improvements or structural improvements. And that 27.3, which does include, as proposed, land in Plaistow, it's so far away and so removed. Plus, there would be a requirement that a note be added to that plan, that the land shown on the plan in Plaistow does not involve any development of land whatsoever, something to that effect. So that would remove the town of Plaistow from having to be concerned with any development in Plaistow, but any concern or close proximity concern to anything going on with that project in Newton.
John, has that actually happened? The last plan that I saw still had some lots that were part of Plaistow land with houses on them. So has that changed?
Yeah, right now, there is not a plan proposed, formally being acted on.
Okay,
It has been suspended at this point in time,
okay.
the submission of another plan.
So if they go forward, we'll see something coming to Plaistow?
We'll know if something's up.
Okay.
We are in constant contact with the regional planning agency and the rotating planner.
Circuit rider.
Excuse me. So that person's been in contact and stays in contact with us.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the original site drawings, have buildings, commercial buildings on the Plaistow land, but I know it's not an approved site plan or anything like that, so.
They submitted a plan that didn't comply with any submission requirements, so that was rejected, and they're working on something that, may fly. And you know what, once they do submit something, it'll immediately go before the board, and we may end up wanting to have legal counsel advise if necessary.
Good.
All right, any other business to bring up?
Not really.
Nothing else.
Did you guys, again, I don't want to rehash everything, did you guys talk about the update from DE about the governor's emergency order?
Yep.
Did we come up with how that may or may not impact us?
It's going to keep us the same.
Yeah. I mean,
We're here.
Are we ready to, disband masks yet, or?
That's the other question.
Yeah, when do these come off?
Yeah, when do these come off?
Well,
Haven't
You
had
you don't have to
twelve,
wear
right,
them in
maybe?
Jamoulas.
When the health officer
We'll have to do
says they
12
come off,
it's for the town?
basically saying no, they're not coming
Yeah.
off.
You what? Oh,
They asked the same question.
I think
I
the
know. I
current,
think you're right.
current status of masks is it's up to each individual business or organization. So
right.
as far as I know, Plaistow still is asking us to wear
Yeah.
masks.
Yep.
In the government,
In all the buildings, the annex, the highway, public works garage, the library, and the town hall. Historical Society.
It's definitely still
All
in
right, well.
hospitals everywhere.
government always goes a little bit slower than everything else, so we'll plug away.
It's a shame.
Okay, any other comments, thoughts, feedback, questions?
Seems like you got over the loss already. No?
Well, it's a busy time of the year, and it's one of those things, it's a bittersweet at the end, because you're like, hey, I can sleep in tomorrow, or, you know, I don't have to work 2 jobs tomorrow. But we'll have our banquet on Friday and celebrate, especially the seniors that are graduating, and be fortunate that we had a season, you know, after last year not having one, so I'm sure Bill can talk about that with the softball and baseball and everything else. But if that's it, then we'll adjourn and take our masks off outside.
See you on the 16th.
Meeting adjournment, 7:51.
Yep.
Thanks, Charlene. All right.